Toby, it's really nice to sit down and talk about some positivity surrounding the Welsh regions after some great results in Europe, some quality derbies, and long may it continue.
Yeah, for sure. What a difference a few weeks make, everyone knows that, and we're waiting to give people presents for Christmas, right? So, no, from that point of view, it's great that the buoyancy that playing well and positive results give you. So yeah, we're in a good place. We're enjoying ourselves. You know, as you say, as is the picture in Welsh rugby is a little bit happier despite all the uncertainty.
It was a tough loss for you guys to take against Leinster last weekend, but overall, how happy are you with the way Ospreys have turned their season around after what was a pretty slow start by your standards?
Yeah, no, for sure. Look, and we were close, right? But close doesn't get the job done. And similarly in the Leinster, we can't be satisfied with the outcome, and that's what drives us all forward. But the nature of it, and the nature of actually a lot of what's gone on before, was still positive. But you need to be the very best to beat the best. You need to produce, you know, a lot of high consistency for 80 minutes, and we were probably a 65-minute performance that day. But you know, it's I suppose mitigated a little bit on the backing up of the types of fixtures we've been in, and you've seen that we've had to rotate people, we've had to get people in and out, and because the 6-day turnaround, Christmas schedules, etc., eventually pays a price, and that's something we can't control because of the depth of our squad, but it gives the youngsters a chance or gives other people a chance, and we welcome that.
You're going to need a full 80 minutes this weekend. The away game in Montpellier, right up there with probably one of your best performances in Europe. What do you think was the key to your success in that game?
I think well, there's a few things really. I think our leading players led by example and by their vocality and their leadership. So I think that was really important, and also you know, the way the game played out, and we were resilient to the little moments that we'd not necessarily been so resilient to. So I think that, you know, in game was that, but predominantly the one was the attitude of our players, and it was almost a little bit right, enough's enough now. This is going to change. This is going to change today. So that was good.
Lots of noise coming out of their camp this week. As you'd expect, they're going to be hungry for revenge on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm sure they are, but we can't control that. We know that Swansea's always, you know, like the Costa del of Wales, so we know that there'll be a sunshine welcome waiting for them. I'm not really worried about what they've got to worry about. We'll worry about what we can do. But both teams, as you say, are in the hunt to get into the knockout stages, so there's a lot on the line for sure.
Where are we with injuries and returning players? Will we see the likes of Rhys Webb, Alex Cuthbert, Adam Beard, Jack Morgan, Owen Williams back on Saturday?
Yeah, all 5 of those are available, so yeah, they're all back. Back and around it. George North as well, which is good to get him back. We've got a couple of dents. There's always a yin and a yang, so from that point of view, it's going to be a massive challenge, but it's good to have those boys back for sure.
Who are those dents?
Well, so we've got a few dents around the back row. So Ethan Roots went off early, for example. Morgan Morris had a dent, but I think we're hoping that he'll be okay. Kieran Williams, we're waiting to see what happens with him. Obviously, he's been an unbelievable player for us in the last month or so. So, you know, he epitomises our upturn for sure. So we're seeing whether he can make it. And I think that's obviously Matt Prothero went off. Obviously with a broken arm in the first few minutes, which is devastating for him. But you know, as he's just got back, so the attritional rate of rugby means it is what it is. But as you say, whoever goes out there will certainly be putting the best foot forward for sure.
You mentioned Kieran Williams, the man of the match last weekend. He's been in top form. A lot of us are excited to see Warren Gatland's Six Nations team squad announcement on Tuesday. Do you think he's got a shot?
Well, look, again, I get asked this question a lot, I'm sure. not about caring about any player, but basically Warren will know what he wants in certain positions and a balance of his team and how he wants the team to play. So look, if that's the sort of player they're looking for, that sort of front foot ball carrying, lay down a marker type player, then Kieran's done all that he can to put his name in the frame, and that'd be great for him. And if it isn't successful, we'll continue to try and make him the best player he can be, and if the chance comes along, he'll certainly grab it with both hands for sure.
And one last question from me. You mentioned Costa del Swansea. The crowds have been fantastic over derbies. Are you hoping for the same again on Saturday? It really does seem to lift the players when you've got a good lively crowd.
Oh, obviously we love them to come out, and this is one of those fixtures that everyone comes to see. It's a European fixture. It's an exciting fixture. There's massive competition, and it's a fixture that there's stuff riding on for both sides. So the more support we can have, the better. The fixture kick-off time probably doesn't help, but from that point of view, we hope that they come out and support us. Win, rain and shine like they normally do, because it makes a massive difference, as you mentioned, in the games that we played recently.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for those of us who are in bed at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Hey, good luck, Toby.
Thank
See
you
Saturday.
Cheers.
Toby, what's been wrong with Kieran?
Oh no, he's just sore basically. It's about just backing up 80-minute performances and bits and pieces. So there's nothing major in relation to that. If he doesn't make it, it'll just be a week in and week out, I would have thought. So from that point of view, we've got nothing to worry about.
And what does it mean, to you as a coach to have George coming back into the mix?
Well, you want competition for places, you want experience, you want people that are... So it's not always the coach's voice, whether it be mine, Duncan, Richard, Fussell's, whoever. You don't want, the same thing. We want players to own it and drive it forward. So the greater the standing of the player and the vocality of the player, the more authority they command. And George is one of those. He's been there and done it, 100-cap international player. And so when he talks, people listen. He knows his performance has to stand up. But it's good for these young players to be around people like that, because it makes a difference.
And with George, you seem to have a surfeit of centres at the moment. I know Owen is injured, but you've got Kieran, you've got Joe Hawkins, you've got Michael Collins. Are you still operating on the basis that you treat every game on merit as to where George plays? Yeah,
a little bit. I mean, again, what else is the good thing? I think it's a bit of the new world, right? Because the new world requires versatility in positions, both for squad balance, but also if you're on limited resources, you need to make sure that you've got as much competition or positional coverage as you can get. So having people like George who can play centre wing is important. Owen Watkins has done both centre positions and wing. Owen Williams can play 10, 12 and has played fullback. Steve Myler's played 10, 15. So it's a lot of that. Duplicity is really, really important, because you want to be able to be competitive in every game, and ultimately you want your best players on the pitch. So that's a really attractive factor. I know you asked me about George, but it's no different for a number of other players.
And you've got in your squad 5 potential leadership options for Wales, in the likes of Alan Wynne, Justin, Jack Morgan, Adam Beard, maybe even Dewi Lake. Can you just say a few words about some of those guys as potential leadership options for Warren?
I'd probably put Rhys Webb in that as well, to be fair as well.
And Rhys.
So, because obviously he's been a captain and it shows leadership. Look, I think it's a little bit old-fashioned to go, right, he's the ultimate leader, and that's of course you need a focal point. You need people that are going to make decisions, whether you're, when you win or lose the toss, when you kick in for goal or not, and those relationships. But we work very much as a leadership group. People own different parts of the performance, and we want them to own that and lead on that. So from that point of view, all those guys that you mentioned all play leadership roles of some capacity in our team, and I think the more you've got of those sort of players, the better you are, and the more robust you are around different parts of the game that that are never the same. Sometimes you're in front by 10, sometimes you're behind by 10, sometimes there's 20 minutes to go, sometimes there's 15 seconds to go, and that wealth of leadership and experience are so vital in those critical moments.
And what have you made of Justin, as captain this year? Has he done a good job for you?
Yeah, very good. I mean, he's been exceptional, both on and off the pitch. We converse a lot, and he gets me the heartbeat of what's going on and what I need to be mindful of, and gives me feedback on the coaching, what we're doing, where the squad is, and to have that high level relationship and trust is vital. And obviously the levels of performance that he's putting in, he's definitely back to his best, isn't he, for sure. So from that point of view, it's a win-win for us.
And those 6 players that we mentioned there, do you see them as potential captaincy options for Warren?
Again, you'll have to ask Warren that. It depends on what he wants. I'm sure. I don't know many coaches though, however, that don't want more leadership. Every coaching group you talk to want to make. The aim of a coach is to make themselves redundant, right? So from that point of view, you've got to have good ownership, good leadership, good capability. On any given day, you can have a captain. You can get HIA in the first 10 minutes. Someone else has to step up. So you need that flexibility for sure.
And we did speak about Derry Lake last week, but he sort of backed up all those words really with a really good performance. And you can see him really developing into a top class player, Toby, can you?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, the physicality that he brings. Everyone knows that he's working hard on the fundamentals of his game, but like the raw competition side of it, in relation to collision and the abrasiveness is good, and ultimately everyone enjoys that side of it. So yeah, we're looking forward to him going out there, because obviously he missed out in the first time. Sam Parry's obviously injured and it still is, so it's one in and one out, as it were. But you need to make sure that you're good in the collision when you play against big French sides, and this lot will be no different for sure.
And with Matt Prothero, how long are you expecting Matt to be out for?
He's got the same injury, I think, as Dan Lydiard, so that'll be probably 3 months, I would have thought. He's got in for the operation today, so we'll know more after that.
The last question really, you played against Montpellier a few weeks ago, and Zach Mercer was every bit as good as you said that he would be. How do you sort of keep him in check?
Keep the ball. If you can keep the ball, then he doesn't have it. So part of it is around what you want to do. As I said, you need to deal with all threats, not just him. They've got a number of them. He's a very visible one. With his blue hat on, but we've got a blue hat of our own, so from our point of view we're interested in that one, not the other one.
Brilliant, hope it goes well.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi Toby. I wonder if I could just change the subject a little bit. Today's news about Warren Gatland's coaching team. We know a little bit about Alex King. He spent a bit of time in Wales before. We know very little about Mike Forshaw here. You'd have coached against them both. Could I just get your assessment of the appointments?
So I don't know Alex King very much from I know him from a coaching point of view, more as a player. I know when he played at Wasps, and obviously when Warren was there and Rob was there and whatever, he was a person that was at the forefront of a lot of the good stuff that Wasps did. So coaching teams, as in normal teams, are often about trust, and he's obviously got a high level of trust for him that's been forged over many years, and you want to go into the trenches with people that you know and trust. So that seems an obvious appointment for me in that respect. And he's got some experience in Europe as well as on home shores, so that makes him probably have a greater depth and width of knowledge around the international arena that you're likely to play in. So that that completely makes sense. The way defence is, and you look at Sean before him, rugby league defence. Mike's obviously from that background. Sale have always been a very combative side to play against. If you look at, say, for example, the Curry brothers and whatever, they've come under, they blossomed under that sort of tutelage in the defensive side of the game. Again, I know Mike, from a professional point of view, I don't know him too well. I know him by reputation. I know his background. And all I can comment on is that how good and tough a nut Sale were to crack when he was there. So from that point of view, yeah, they look like good appointments to me.
Okay, thanks very much. Good luck against Montpellier.
Thank you.
How pleased are you with the current performances at the moment and the environment that you've really created at the Ospreys?
So do you want a percentage, Harry, or do you want me to? I think like, no coach, no team, no player, no organisation is ever completely satisfied. You always want to try and get better and improve. What I am pleased with is the level of consistency in the performance. You know, and that's a massively important part of what we do, because if you are consistent, then it becomes about how much talent you've got on the pitch and the execution side of it. So yeah, we're pretty happy and where we've been, especially defensively and set piece wise. There's always more growth, and attack's the hardest thing to grow because there's a risk reward element to it. So yeah, still plenty to do, still more things to do, but you know, we've set some good standards over the last few weeks which we're really pleased about.
Yeah, and you mentioned about how difficult this period is. Obviously, it doesn't get much easier as well, but how with the squad at the moment, we've seen them bowling the other day and that kind of thing. Is everyone still in high spirits?
Yeah, everyone's in high spirits. It's important to, you know, still enjoy each other's time, be strong on and off the pitch, and obviously with the attrition rate and where we are, you know, there's no point in doing training for training's sake so coaches can tick their boxes. It's about doing things that are meaningful, and we feel sometimes it's more meaningful to spend some time together than it is to chase the ball around. So from that point of view, it's important that we, you know, have a balance and enjoyment to what we do.
Yeah, and a lot of players, especially in the last 2 seasons, have really started to develop their skills in like different areas. So it's gone from being like maybe like a one-trick pony to trying to develop that. Maybe like someone like a Kieran Williams. How do you see them developing at the moment? Maybe not the more experienced players, but some of the younger players.
I think there's still a place for a one-trick pony, but you've got to be a very, very good pony for sure. So I don't think it's as simple as that. I think it's creating an environment where people feel they can express themselves and give the best version of them and the fact they want to. So I think there's a lot of environment-based stuff here. I also think there's a lot of, you know, the team and what it stands for and what it champions. So effort and intensity, for example, have been good. And you know, not everyone makes that journey. Not everyone can make it. Not everyone can live in that world. Sometimes their body can't live in that. You know, they're constantly injured, or sometimes they just can't make real time decisions. So that's part of pushing the top rather than pulling the bottom. So we'll continue to try and set that as a program. And if you can stay in that program and flourish, then you obviously become a very, very good and consistent player. And you know, Kieran's probably that. I mean, he's been off the radar. I know you guys have spoken to him last week for 12 months probably because of injuries, but you know, it just shows you that, you know, the stuff that he's done, and now his body is sort of caught up. And I know obviously there's a question mark about it for this week, but it's not anything massive. Is the fact that if you're a good player, you're a good player, right?
Yeah, and change the subject slightly. The boys up front, the set piece, they've been getting on plaudits lately, and rightly so. How important is it for those boys in the backs division to start firing now? Because they did a bit against Montpellier, and you've got your win. Maybe in the past few weeks they've got a bit quiet.
Well, I'm not sure about. I think the nature of the game that we played against Cardiff, you know, sometimes you don't need to. You know, ultimately it's about performing well and winning. But there are days, as you say, where you're not always going to get it your own way. Leicester was a good example of that. Previously, it'll be the same. Montpellier will be the same. You know, you need everyone. It's a 15-man game for a reason. However, we do pride ourselves on being decent at set piece because it's a good platform and we've got good recruits in there, and it's proven by how many people represent Wales that are forwards from the Ospreys. So from that point of view, you know, it's an old adage of, you know, no scrum, no chance, and you know, we certainly believe that that's the case for sure.
Yeah, and how important do you think you'll be on this weekend for every chance to be taken?
Yeah, I think it's really important. I think the intent to do it is as important as doing it. because you can't go into your shells in big performances, big occasions. You've got to make sure that you're still, you know, ambitious and putting your best foot forward, and you know, that's part of growing up as a team and as an individual within the team, and understand that there's risk involved in what we do, and embracing that risk as part of either doing it or getting better. And that's easy to do when you're winning, but it's not so easy when you're not. So to understand that and live that is a lot easier or a lot harder than just talking about it. So from that point of view, yeah, that's why it's such an interesting game, right? Because it requires all different elements to collide and coincide to perform well.
Cheers, Toby. Always a pleasure. Good luck on the weekend.
Thank you very much.
Toby, can I ask you one more question?
No. Yeah,
Right.
no, you can. Of course you can,
It's a
Mark.
tricky question, so you.
All right. Okay. So my answer might stand then. So maybe no. But yeah, go on. Ask away.
Yeah, Tom Botha becomes available to Wales next summer.
Yeah.
How do you assess his progress, and do you see him as an option for Warren for the World Cup?
Well, I mean, you've seen in recent performances how important scrums are, for sure, and Tommy, without doubt, is a specialist scrummager, so it depends on obviously what you're looking for from the number 3 shirt, for sure. And certain opposition, you require more of that or less of that. But the same thing still applies to what I've just said, really, is, you know, his progress has been the fact that, you know, we have a legitimate rotation policy around props, you know, and that's not because we think it's a nice thing to do or it's to keep everyone happy. You have to be good enough to be in that rotation. So from that point of view, Tommy both has starting games where he's always been seen as the backup guy, and that says enough for me that, you know, if called upon, he'll give it his best and be ready, because ultimately he's delivering, you know, on his part of the jigsaw. So from that point of view, why not?